Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Brianna. I'm your entrepreneur with no job, but I do have a dream and this is my journey. Today, I'm doing a book report for you on The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. I came into possession of this book during my life insurance days. My trainer gave it to me and she thought it would help me, but after reading it, at this point in my life, I was nowhere near ready for those concepts. Anyway, in last month, I decided I should start working on moving from thinking about things to doing things. So I decided to read this book because that's what I had. And it's a big part of the reason I decided to go ahead and sign up to work with direct sales. So I'm going to give you some information about the book. I'll start by telling you Brian Tracy is one of the sales greats. I didn't know that until I was watching a different video last week and somebody mentioned him along with Grant Cardone as like sales greats. This book it says it was published in 2004, and there are a couple parts in there that make it clear it's published in 2004. One of the things it said was you can do research on the internet, perhaps. So while there are some parts of it that are a bit dated, the information is still golden, and I would definitely recommend people to buy it. So I'm going to start by giving you an overview of the book, and then I will talk at the same time about how it applies to Mary Kay, and then I'll give some discussion about how I'm going to utilize the information in the book. Let's get started. I would categorize the content as goal setting, mindset, and the actual practice of selling. The first chapter is entitled The Inner Game of Selling. So this is a chapter that's about mindset. He says the top salespeople are not special people. And I think that's an important statement to make because a lot of times we see successful people as kind of freaks, or they were born blessed, just special, golden. But sales is a skill. While some people pick up that skill earlier, or they may it may come easier to them, it's still a skill and it's still learnable and anyone can be good at it. One of the other examples he gives is the fact that immigrants come over where they've come from absolutely nothing. They're not a part of this culture and they still can dominate in sales. You need to have a good psychological base or foundation in order to have a good sales performance. And that begins with the self-concept. And he talks about self-concept so much in this in this book, which is interesting. Seeing, if you watch my last video entitled Facing My Fears, a lot of the issues I was having in my new sales profession is based on self-concept. So the first point he makes is you can never earn 10% more or less than your self-concept level of income. So if you think that you're worth $40,000, you're going to go out and earn $40,000. So he says he wants you to set a goal for 25 to 50% more than that. However, it needs to be reasonable for you. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. He also says, also think about it. If somebody, let's say they're a CEO, they lose their job, they don't end up at a job where they're just like a customer service representative. They get another CEO level job because that's where their self-concept is set. That they don't really vary from that because that's what they expect of themselves. And it's the same for us down here at 20, 30, 40,000. Imagine yourself as already the person that you wish to be. So as I read that, I realized one of the ways I do that is by getting my nails done. I always feel like a more high-class person when I get my nails done, although I know there are some ratchet chicks that get their nails done too. But either way, that's something that helps me meet that mental image I have. But either way, you want to already envision yourself or think of yourself as the rank of the person that you want to be. So, for instance, my YouTube channel, I'm a microscopic YouTuber at this point, but I want to think of myself as a big YouTuber, as a YouTuber with a platform, if that's what my goal is. Next, the more you like yourself, the better you will perform. And at some point in the book, he talks about even repeating that, I like myself, I like myself. But more than convincing yourself you like yourself, you need to actually like yourself and work on improving your self-esteem and being proud of yourself through your practices and your character. The best time to make a sale is right after you've made a sale, because that's when your self-esteem is highest. So you have one success, immediately try to move on to the next one. And that's kind of like, I think that's really what's at play when you see people, it just seems like they're dominating everything, like P. Diddy or Jay-Z. Success begets success. So people, they've had a success, they want to move on to the next thing, and they'll continue to be successful because their self-esteem is so high and they're just making it happen. You can only begin selling after you have convinced the prospect that you are his pal. And in order to do that, of course, you need to feel likable, be likable, and you also need to have a healthy personality, which is defined in the book as, well, here's a quote. I don't know if it's a quote from somewhere else. It wasn't credited, but it was in quotations. It says, your personality is healthy to the degree to which you can get along with the greatest number of different types of people. So I immediately thought of Nene Leakes and how she's always got beef with somebody on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So maybe she doesn't have a very healthy personality type, but you want to have a personality type so that everyone likes you and you don't repel certain people, because then you're going to have the most success with different types of prospects. The second chapter is called Set and Achieve All Your Sales Goals. So if you've read any other sorts of like improve yourself or work performance books, goals and mindset are really a big part of it. So here is what he has to say about that, a little bit different than what you've normally heard. Number one, ridiculous goals do not motivate you, they demotivate you. So again, I mentioned that in my last video. If your goal, if let's say this year in your sales business you made $35,000 and then your goal is to make $150,000, it's like a non-goal. Or it might even make you feel just so far off from the goal that you can't accomplish it. So realistic goals, he says, write your goals, and that writing your goals increases their likelihood of being accomplished by 1,000%. I would challenge that statistic. However, we've heard it time and time again. You do need to write down your goals, and in doing so, program them into your subconscious. So his theory is that when you've written down your goals and you're reviewing them, even if you're not thinking about them in the midst of your sales call or meeting or whatever, your subconscious is helping you to process what's happening in the meeting in order to contribute to accomplishing those goals. So your subconscious is helping you to read the prospect's face to determine what to say next to help you meet your sales goal. Determine what specific activities you need to do in order to meet your goal. So we always identify goals, or we should be identifying goals, but he takes it a step further. Break down exactly what you're going to do, how much you're going to make per month, how much per week, how many calls does that translate to, how many sales per day, that type of thing. He also recommends to set 100 goals. This is what you want to be, do, and have, and it includes your family. So it's not just professional or even just materialistic, but like, where do you and your family want to go? What type of person do you want to be? What sorts of possessions do you want to have? 100 goals, he says, it's not so much that people are unable to achieve their goals, but a lot of times they don't even know what they want, or they don't have strong enough motivators to make sure that they attain what they want. He recommends you use mantras. The one he lists here says, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific. And in saying that, you will also imagine yourself as that and then ultimately be that. He also says, this was a really good point to me, and it helped me to make at least one shift. It says, everyone visualizes. You're either visualizing things going great or visualizing things not going great. So the top salespeople, they are visualizing their success. Mediocre salespeople are visualizing the negative experiences they've had. So I tend to dwell on the negativities of the past, but with that tip, I realize I need to start just expecting better, because that's what the top people are doing. The next chapter, or actually the remainder of the book, is basically about the practice of selling, several different chapters. He goes into a lot of detail, giving very specific instructions for how to be better at selling. I'll outline a few of them here, but there are so many other, so much information that you would still want to read it if you're looking for practical information about how to sell. So your presentation needs to be planned, which is good advice for me. Your opening statement needs to be rehearsed, and it needs to be provocative enough that your customer responds, how do you do that? How do I get that? They are interested or intrigued by that statement. Do not talk about the product or price over the phone unless you can actually make the sale over the phone. That's not really an issue for me, but I can imagine people like, oh, what is it? What do you want to, how much is it? And then they don't even really give you the opportunity to show them how the product will benefit them. So one of his recommendations is to say, would you be interested in a proven method that could increase sales by 20 to 30%? His method is to identify a key benefit and offer that to the person. So it will be really hard for someone to say, no, I'm not interested in increasing sales, because, well, in this scenario, he's talking to a business person, because that's what the whole point is. So then you would get them to say, well, how do you do that? And then you would repeat, well, I have a proven method to do blah, blah, blah. Let me come see you and talk to you about it. The next thing, which I think is very beneficial or useful for me, says you are selling a solution to a problem or satisfaction of a genuine need, not products. So when you think of what you have as something that people actually need or want, or your aim is to find the ways that it solves their problems, you will be more successful in helping them to see why they need to make that purchase. In addition, you need to focus on the benefits of the products and the benefits of the product to the consumer, as opposed to the features. And I think that this is great. Sometimes I've gone to I've done some of these little parties, or even somebody's trying to sell some shake or something to me, and they just tell me like how great it is, but that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care that it's newly formulated. What is that? I don't know. That doesn't matter to me. I need to know how it's going to improve my life. So if you're just focusing on the features of the products, that's not going to help. You need to focus on the benefits, but you need to focus specifically on the benefits to that customer, which comes after you have identified what their needs are. So for me, I would definitely need to ask people, what are their skin problems? What do you want? What do you wish you could change? Just find those things out, and then when I'm showing them the products, make sure I make a clear connection to how my products can solve their problem, assuming it can actually solve their problem. He also recommends that you look the part. So looking sharp, you want to look like the top salesperson in your field, because if you look like you're at the top, that also signifies that the product that the person is buying is of value. So what we are doing is providing value, or where people want to feel like they're getting a good value. So you need to look like you represent a good value, and then in turn, people will perceive your product to have a higher value as well. Remember, rejection is not personal. People might not want your opportunity or your products, but that doesn't mean that they don't want you. You shouldn't take that personal. He also recommends to make sure you're asking the questions, because the person who asks the questions is in control. I learned that actually at my first Mary Kay event, because my director was so nice. She was like, for every one question, every one thing you say about yourself, you need to ask them 3 questions. I generally talk a lot about myself to help people feel more comfortable or to give them something to talk about. But in this setting, I need to stop doing that and get people talking more about themselves and me be the one asking the questions. There's a dog outside. So never expect a callback. You always want to do the following up. And then if you do have a sales appointment, you do want to take the next step and remind them the day before, confirm, make sure they're going to be there. Because if you leave it to them, you will be disappointed. One of the most significant tips he shared for me was that people have a generalized resistance to sales. And that is just what it is. And it's partly a self-defense mechanism, especially when we lived in a very commercialized society. You see celebrities talking about things that they like, and it's not always clear if they actually use the product or if they're being paid to tell you that they like it. There's product promotion in movies. So we have evolved to be resistant to being sold to. And that's something that you just have to expect and deal with at the first meeting, and then hopefully you can break through that. He does discuss some ways to handle that sales resistance as well as ways to handle rejection in general in the book. So, like I said, this book helped me feel like I could actually sell Mary Kay because it gave so much instruction about selling. It's not luck of the draw thing. It's what you put into it, you're going to get out of it. So despite reading that, I still have not made a list of 100 goals. I did mention it to my husband when I read that part, but did not do that. So I need to make my list of goals. I need to rehearse my sales presentation. I need to develop an attention-grabbing first statement, but I think that's also going to come with more experience talking to people or more experience meeting with people to see what would work. I have no concept of what would work at this point, but I'm definitely going to focus on figuring out what people's needs are and trying to show how my products can meet them. And again, I really need to work on my self-esteem and self-concept. I immediately thought of, when I was reviewing the book this morning, I was thinking about the goal setting. It was like accomplish your goals. Well, we have a goal 30 faces in 30 days. So I need to do 30 facials within 30 days. And there's a very large part of me that has no problem not accomplishing that because that's what I'm used to. And I think it would be really important for me to really, really try to get that done. Even though I'm brand new at this, I think that that's something that would change the tone of my trajectory in this business and in my success in general. Another issue for me is that he says you really have to be committed to becoming a master of selling your products. But I have so many other goals at this point. I have some other things that I'm working on. So I'm like, is it practical that I'm going to be able to master this when I'm also trying to master other things or at least do other things? So that made me think about what actually is my potential, and also should I be doing multiple things at once? So I really recommend you get this book. I will include an Amazon link below for you to purchase it for yourself. If you've read this book or if you have any books that you would like me to read and report, please let me know. Link in the comments, or not link, leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get back to work, and I hope you have a great day.